We all want smooth blends on our minis, right? But what if I told you there's a very uncomfortable truth about how you actually get there? And not knowing this made me waste even more time and mental sanity, which I already have little of. Not anymore. Because today I'm gonna share with you what made me waste 100 hours still not getting the result I wanted, how to avoid that, why this truth is gonna make you uncomfortable, but it's also gonna unlock a kind of a shortcut to achieve smoother blends. Sort of. As I've been painting for Golden Demon, I realized something kind of important. And I should probably have realized way before that, but I decided to totally ignore the sign, so good move, Alice. Every painter has a different approach, but not every approach fits the result that you want to get. My painting approach is all about interpreting volumes and light on the miniature and try to achieve that contrast light to dark. So basically I base coat with the color A and I try to find the volumes with color B. With a distance between A and B, aka a value jump, that's big enough for me to clearly see the difference between A and B. So there is no subtleness whatsoever in this. Then I blend. And here where the big problem lies. Let's put into practice all this so you can clearly see what I mean. For this demo, I'm gonna be using the same model and the same color palette. This palette is a bit more yellow and less muddy compared to what I used to use for my Deathwing Terminators. I created 7 little pots using mud brown, medium sand, and dark sand. Thinking about it now, I could get rid of 2 mixes, one in the highlight tones and one in the shadow tones, and it would be fine because the difference in luminosity is kind of low. I base coated in a 2:1 ratio, mud brown and medium sand. If you can use an airbrush for this, is better because I don't know if you noticed, but pretty much every dark brown from AK Interactive is a little bit like rainy. Can you see it? If you know why that is, drop it in the comment. For my approach, I started using this color mix and simply start sketching in the highlight points using a strong glaze consistency. I use this consistency only because my mind was set into competition mode, and when that happens I know I'm gonna be painting multiple layers, blend and clean up all the transitions, so I prefer to stay slightly less opaque in my paint application. Also, these tones I'm using tend to go chalky or give problems really easily, so I want to be real careful about how I move the paint around. Of course you can see the jump is pretty high, like a lot. Then I blend, picking up a middle tone and softening the transition between color A, my base coat, and color B, my highlight. This process took me maybe 15 minutes in real time. There's a lot of back and forth, but at the same time it's pretty easy to achieve a good result with nice contrast in very little time. The downside is smoothing this perfectly will take ages and it's gonna be frustrating as hell. With the sketching approach that I use, the value jump I have to smooth out with blending is pretty high. And to do this, I'll have to use different types of glazing, and that is what makes everything more complicated. Can you see how kind of hard is this? To fix all that, you'll need a lot of back and forth with what I call a cleanup glaze consistency. By the way, you can get my consistency cheat sheet in the link down below for free. This cleanup glaze consistency is really hard to manage because it's so thin you will barely see how the paint is affecting the model. If you push it too hard or too far in the shadow, you will run the risk to leave stains that you will then need to clean up, creating more stains. Then you have to clean up, creating more stains. You can see why this is hell. That's why the approach you use needs to be decided according to your goals. If you want smoother blends, using a sketching approach will most likely make you lose your mind. Don't get me wrong, it's not like impossible. Plenty of people do it. I did it like 100 times, but it's just, I don't know, kind of exhausting to me. Okay, but what is the solution then? The solution is what I realized, what I really didn't want to admit to myself. Now I'm gonna show you a different approach that's gonna help you build smoothness in a slightly less hellish hell way. But before do that, I have a big announcement. To celebrate the last video before I have my annual 1-week vacation, I'm putting my foundation system on sale. But you'll have to be real quick with those little fingers because spots are limited and discount codes are valid for 1 week only. So what are you waiting for? Get yours now using code ataraxiapainting. Yes, that's the name I gave it. It's my discount code, okay? Link in the description. So now same colors, different approach. After the base coat, instead of going in with that mix, I use this one. Much more subtle. A subtleness that's enhanced by the fact that I'm gonna thin it out even more than I did before. I start slow, building up multiple layers of the same color. It's slow, it's boring, really gets the job done with way less back and forth. And this on the long run, it's gonna save you from total insanity. I really slowly higher the value of my highlights, being really careful on how I push the paint around and on which consistency I'm using. This is the anti-sloppy approach, which doesn't really suit me. If you want to have super clean and refined blends and make your life a little bit easier, not going literally insane, you gotta use a specific approach from the start. The pros of this is that it saves you time on the long run because your transition will be already smooth and you will need way less cleanup. It's also practice for brush control because you will need to push the pigment around a lot and that's good exercise. You will also practice to finding the right consistency for the right job, which is always a good thing. Well, it'll certainly get you good results if you're doing this correctly. The cons, as far as I'm concerned though, is that I don't get that instant satisfaction that I usually get within the first 30 minutes painting a model. It's also gonna take longer, of course, if compared to a less polished sketching approach. So you cannot really use it for a quick paint job for a game. It can be frustrating to use. Like I said, brush control, you're gonna practice it, but also it might slap you in the foot, in the feet. Because probably the hardest part in miniature painting is pushing that color around in the right direction and the right way with the right pressure. So probably there's gonna be a higher amount of frustration because essentially what you're gonna do is start clean to finish clean. So no sketching, no playing around with colors, clean, precise paint job from start to finish. And this way, it doesn't really suit my approach. My approach is messy, my approach is all over the place. So my opinion, it all depends on what you want. If you want to paint smoothly, you gotta roll with it. You kind of have no choice. I think that's the best option. Start clean and finish clean. I think it's objectively the best way to do things and it's gonna drive you insane less. But are you willing to sacrifice your approach that you developed, sweating tears of blood for smoothness? That's really up to you to answer. What's my answer? Well, this time I decided I wouldn't go through that and I decided to paint in my own style, trying to create my own style really. So I am painting my Golden Demon entry this year with this new technique. Check it out and maybe it will suit you better as well. I'll see you there. Oh, you'll see past me. I was like actually like a long